of Dale C. Bronner.
So when I made that decision, I cut off every other option. And it gives you power. You don't have resoluteness and focus in your life until you learn to cut off the other options. Some of your black books, oh my. The numbers that you just keep tucked away just in case, cut off. Decidere, cut it off. You make a decision to cut off the other options. The other options. Listen, divorce is not an option for me. I'm not going to live with that looking around saying, well, you know, if you don't straighten up, you know. Listen, I refuse. I've made a decision. I've cut it off. You know what you need to cut off. You know who you need to cut off. There are some people that will make themselves a leech in your life. Oh. And they will make you feel obligated to have to sustain the foolishness of their life. They buy what they want and then beg and borrow and steal from you what they need. Touch your neighbor, say, I know that person. So you have to make a decision, because when you make a decision, there's nothing more powerful in all of the world than somebody who has made a decision to move toward a certain direction in their life. All change begins with a decision. Your decisions determine your conduct, your character, and your destiny. It is so important for you to make good decisions in your life. And they made a poor decision here. Joshua and the children of Israel made a poor decision because they partook of somebody's deceptions, their provisions, and bought into a lie using an old trick. And they were deceived because they never asked the Lord for his wisdom. They never asked him. But one method of deliberating, remember, it means to weigh in mind. One way of deliberating certain things is just to take a sheet of paper and draw a line straight down the center of it and put pros on one side and put cons on the other. And there are certain things that you can deliberate by. What are the positives here and what are the negatives? What are the drawbacks and what are the strengths of this particular thing here? And list all of the pros that you can think of and all of the cons that you can think of, and let logic help to guide you. I wish that people would use a little more logic in their decision making instead of just flippantly tossing a coin and say, well, Lord, heads, I go, and tails, I don't. That's not deliberation. Please don't. Well, you flip the coin and, heads is going to be John and tails is going to be Henry. And the Lord might have rejected both of them, both John and Henry for you. He might have rejected both Sally and Sue for you. So please don't get the coin out. Start deliberating. When you deliberate, remember now, you begin to think about the future consequences of your current decision. That now she's beautiful and everything, but can I deal with her shallow craziness, with the drama that I'm going to get? She is beautiful, but she is a twisted soul. Yeah, please do your deliberation. Oh, he is fine, but can I deal with his baggage? Can I deal with his issues? Can I deal with his temper? Can I deal with his arrogance and his pride? You see, you have to deliberate. Please don't just make a decision and say, oh, he is so cute and his hair so curly and I just love him. I don't care what. That's my boo. Please take time, deliberate. If you don't know how to deliberate clearly, get a friend that you respect. Call your mama. Your mama is not, listen, you may be so far in love that you can't see the trees for looking at the forest. But your mama is not. You call it and run it by your mama. I tell you, everybody that has ever messed up, they always tell me, they say, my mama told me. My mama told me. My mama told me. So do some deliberating. Please don't make decisions that can impact your conduct, your character, and your destiny. Your decisions determine your conduct, your character, and your destiny. And I am convinced that people oftentimes ask the wrong questions when they deliberate. You go down to a showroom, an automobile showroom, and they ask the question, they will ask you the question, what is it going to take for me to get you into this car? How much can you afford? They're asking you that. That's the wrong question. The question is what interest rate are you trying to offer me? The question is for how many months? Yeah, you might be able to get my note down to where I can pay it, but now I got to pay it for 84 months. The question is when you get me back in the business office, are you going to then try to sell me this extra package here with the extended warranty and the upgraded satellite radio system and the special kind of tires and lighting on the car? And by the time I get the upgrades, what started off as a $27,000 vehicle is $38,000. With all of the upgrades and the packages and the extended warranties and this maintenance. And you need to ask the kind of questions: how much is the annual maintenance on this vehicle? How much is the annual estimated fuel cost on this vehicle? Because I might be able to afford it on the showroom floor today, but if I have not deliberated about what it's going to take in case my transmission goes out and I don't have any more warranty on it, can I afford to actually have this car? Or if this thing is a real gas guzzler and it only gets 8 miles to the gallon, can I really, honestly, I know it's a big boy and it's the style that I like, but can I afford to drive this? You need to ask the right questions as you are deliberating. And if you don't know those right questions, find somebody who is ahead of you in the game and ask them. They can tell you. Somebody who's already been around the block in the kind of car that you want. They'll tell you, listen, man, if you ever get this, man, you don't want to have to put it in service. If the transmission goes out, you're going to be in real trouble. So you have to deliberate certain things, and by asking the right kinds of questions, you want to make sure that you ask the right kinds of questions. And I am convinced that when we ask the wrong questions, when we deliberate, we come up with the wrong solution. Don't merely ask when you go to get a job, how much does the job pay? You need to ask some other questions. How will accepting this job affect my marriage? How will accepting this job affect my family? I mean, how many hours is this thing going to do? Is it going to end up affecting my health? Is this the Lord's will for my life? When you make decisions without deliberation, you lose peace, you lose joy, you lose relationships, you lose money. I mean, you lose sleep. You start losing stuff when you make decisions without deliberation. Decisions without deliberation. Now I want to give you some very practical keys for making good decisions. That before you set goals, determine your values. Before you set goals, determine your values. Determine your values. Your values should be the foundation of your decisions. What are your values? Don't ever make a decision that defy your values. Values determine action. Whatever you value determines your action. So always ask the purpose question. With every major decision that you make, always ask the purpose question. Why am I doing this? Because if you understand the purpose of why you're doing something, purpose will always motivate you. Passion comes out of purpose. If you don't have any purpose in life, you have no passion for anything. Your passion comes out of your purpose, so purpose motivates you. Purpose keeps your priorities straight. Keeps your priorities straight. Purpose develops your potential when you understand your purpose. Purpose gives you the power to live in the present when you understand your purpose. Purpose will also help you to evaluate your progress. It helps you to evaluate your progress. You know that when you have good purpose in your life. Now, I'm not trying to make you shout. I want to talk to your head and to your heart, because there are too many Christian individuals that I see that make decisions without deliberating. They will lay down with somebody, not realizing that when you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. And then you wonder why that a secular artist have to say, put a ring on it. And I'm in a message that you think that you'd be hearing coming from the church. And that a secular artist will say, oh, come on, all the single ladies. You want this, put a ring on it. And get some commitment. It's so interesting. You have to be able to have good decisions in your heart. Please don't just throw your mind away because you get saved. Love God with your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength. Please don't just love God with your heart and then just praise him and dance him and just dismiss your mind. When you get saved, please, when you come into the church, please don't check your brain at the door. You need what little peace of mind you have. You need all of this up in here. You need it. You honestly do. You really need all of your mental. You cannot afford to give anybody a piece of your mind, because you need all of this. And when you hold your peace, you keep your peace. I see people do crazy things because they lose their peace. Now here are some factors that can help you in terms of the decision-making process. Number one is your state of mind. Your state of mind. How are you emotionally? How are you emotionally? Are you resting well enough before you have to make major decisions in your life? You need to always rest, because if you're tired, you tend to make poor decisions. If you're tired, you lean more toward the problem than you do toward the solution. And then here's another thing. I hate to make decisions about stuff if I'm hungry. That affects my whole mental faculties. You have to feed me. I can't think clearly when I'm hungry. I need to eat. I mean, you got to eat. Is that correct? You got to eat. Don't ask me anything when I need to eat. I'm liable to snap you off. I'm a real laid-back, passive guy, but if you get me hungry, I don't want to ask anything. I'll snap you off in a minute. I have got to eat. You don't want to ask the bishop anything when he's hungry. I got ready to go speak someplace, and it was for a banquet affair, and they said, would you like us to fix your plate at the end? I said, sweetheart, listen. If you don't feed me, I can't speak. And it changes your mood. I mean, and so after I finish eating, I sing. I'm whistling and carrying on. You'll be surprised. And I see people that make decisions, and they're hungry or they're tired. Listen, don't go to somebody. Please don't judge a person by how they are when they're tired. Please don't do that, because that's not the real person. There would be times that my father would be in an uproar, and my mother would say to him, she says, baby, you need to go out of town. You need a vacation. From me, not with me, from me. You need to go. And she would send him out, and the next thing I know, my dad's bags would be packed, and he would be on a plane. And when Daddy would get back, he had toys for all of his children. I mean, he was just a great mood. And so I waited one time because I wanted a motorcycle. My older brothers had one. I waited until my daddy got back from out of town. I've been operating this wisdom a long time. And I went back into my daddy's room. My dad was in a great mood. He's all relaxed in chill mode because the state of his mind was right. I went in and made the ask. I wanted a Honda. And he coming on a Honda. But I wanted a Honda, and so I went in and made the plea to my daddy. He had just come back in from one of the islands. He was all resting, suntan and all of that. And I went in and made my request known unto my father. And he said, why, sure, I'll be glad to get it for you. And I got my Honda because I made the ask at the right time. Now, I would see other people go in and make the ask when Daddy was tired, got cussed out. Timing is everything. It really is. But see, I got him at a time when the state of his mind was right. He was in chill mode. You have to realize, listen, attitude determines approach. Approach determines success or failure. Some people try to make their appeal at a wrong time. They approach at the wrong time. So your state of mind is a factor. A second factor is your immediate need. The immediate need. Are you desperate? Never make decisions when you're desperate, because you will always compromise and come up with the short end of the deal. That's what happened with Jacob and Esau. Esau was hungry, and he sold his birthright for a bowl of beans. And he didn't realize that he was losing something because he was hungry. He was trying to feed his appetite. And what happens, I say this, never sacrifice the permanent on the altar of the immediate. Because if you ever forget the ultimate, you will become a slave to the immediate. And he could not see the value of an eternal blessing that was going to be pronounced on his life and sold it for a bowl of beans. something that was going to impact his seed for generation, and it was because he was hungry right at the moment. Don't let your immediate need determine what you are willing to negotiate for, because you can be taken advantage of because of your immediate need. Number 3 is your maturity level. Your maturity level. How disciplined are you? Have you learned how to delay personal gratification? Your maturity level. If I ask a 5-year-old, what do you want? They probably say candy, cookies, or something like that. But I bet you a 25-year-old, if you ask them, what do you want? They're like, give me your blank check, give me your credit card. You get to be 30 and 40, you ask for different things, not because, just times have changed, but because you have matured. When you mature, you ask for different things. You get a certain age, and you're asking, you might want a husband, you might want a wife. Then you get a certain age down the road, you're not asking for things, you're not asking for clothes and cars and jewelry and all of this, you're asking for health. You get a certain age, you get sick. I mean, I used to hear the old folks say, I didn't understand what they were talking about, but they'd get up and then they'd be talking about having swimming in the head. Have you ever heard anybody talk about somebody having swimming in the head? Anybody here with gray hair know what swimming in the head is about? Well, you sort of dizzy. Yeah, they'd have vertigo and all this kind of stuff. They'd get up, the blood pressure be too high or something, and they get up and they're dizzy. They would call that swimming in the head. You may not understand the terminology, but you get the picture. And so if they had to ask for anything, they just want to be able to have a healthy body. When you've been in a condition, if you ever injured your back, if you ever had some joint problem, you just want to be able to live a day without pain. You just don't want to deal with this pain, because this pain is about to break you down. It's about to destroy you. And if somebody asks you what you want and you've been dealing with pain for a long time, what you want to do is be pain-free. So your actual immediate need impacts that. Your maturity level of what you ask for determines that. Your spiritual condition, number 4. Have you spent sufficient time in prayer concerning this thing? How keen is your spiritual discernment? Have you spent sufficient time in prayer? Number 5 is competition. Are you making this decision based on a desire to keep up with the Joneses? Is this in response to some type of peer pressure because everybody else has one? Because everybody else's child has a cell phone, does that mean you have to break your budget, get out of whack trying to provide one because your child is having a fit because they don't have a cell phone and your landline works just fine? And you just have to have it. May I just tell you that some of us grew up and there were no such a thing as cell phones, and we made it just fine. You call when you got there. Borrow somebody else's. Just tell them, borrow your friend's phone, call me and tell me. All your friends gonna have just use their phone. Here's a nickel, give them something. Send me a text from their phone. Competition, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Here's a 6th thing that determines your decision-making ability. This is perhaps the most powerful one. Principle. Is this decision based on a godly principle? When you live your life by principle, 99% of your decisions are already made. All you have to do is just turn and say, what are my real principles concerning this? What's my principle here? When you live your life by principle, 99% of your decisions are already made. Now, I want to give you just a quick guidelines here. This is the most important part in decision making. Number 1, you seek the Lord before you make a major decision. Seek the Lord before you make a major decision. Seek His Word. Seek God. You spend some time in prayer. Seek God. Before every major decision in your life, seek God. Seek God, because the devil is out against you. The devil wants to control you. And when the devil can no longer control you, guess what he wants to do? Destroy you. See, he's fine with leaving you totally alive and well as long as he can control you. As long as he can use your mouth to speak damaging words to things. As long as he knows that you are a manipulative agent in his hand, he will love to leave you just as you are, under his control. But the moment that you surrender your life to the Lord, when you surrender to God, now he realizes that he can no longer control you because you have changed lords. So now his strategy is now not to control you any longer, because he knows that he has lost control to a higher power. So his job now, his assignment now, is to destroy what he can no longer control. So you used to be on drugs and he was controlling you when the drugs would catch you at 2 o'clock in the morning, make you get out and go searching for it. You were under its spell, under its control. But when that curse has been broken and you're no longer under his control, now he's out to destroy you. And that's what he's doing. But you seek the Lord and you seek his word. That's number one. Number two, realize that with every decision, there are consequences. With every decision, there are consequences. Here's the third thing. You have the right to make the choice, but you cannot choose the consequences. The consequences are already built in. You have the right to make the choice, but you cannot choose the consequences. The consequences, if you eat certain kinds of food, the fat is built into it. You may not see it. I don't know, they can dress fat up so beautifully. Because you can't see fat in fried chicken, you just can't see it. You can't see it in cheesecake and pie and all kind of rich stuff. I can't see the fat in the creme brulee. I don't really want to see it. But it's there. It will announce its presence. The carbs are there. They don't show themselves, but they're there. And you make the choice, but we can't choose the consequences. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go in and order everything that we wanted fried, but with no coronary effect? I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful if you could go and have the best tasting dessert and say, I want all of the sweetness, but no sugar. And no side effect from any artificial stuff that had been tested long enough to know what in the world this mess is doing in our bodies over a protracted period of time. You have the right to make the choice, but you cannot choose the consequences. You cannot choose the consequences. They are built into it. They are built into it. Here's number 4. Every righteous choice will be challenged by the devil. Every positive choice will be challenged by something negative. Every positive choice, righteous choice will be challenged by the devil. You make a good choice to do something, and I guarantee you, you're going to find people that don't like it, people that feel like you're unfair, people that feel like you're playing favorites, all kinds of things. You can do the right things, and there will be people that just don't like you and that will come against you, criticize you, and attack you for the decision that you've made. You've got to just live by your convictions and let the chips fall where they may, because you will lose your mind trying to please all of the people all of the time. Number 5, your decisions will only be as good as your information. So read, study, talk to other people who are well informed in various areas, folks that have lived longer than you have, that have experienced more. Get counsel from people that have already been around the block, because your decisions will be no better than your information. No better than your information. Number 6, here's a very peculiar one. And it is that you will discover that oftentimes making the right decision feels wrong. Making the right decision feels wrong. As I mentioned about decision cutting off, when you have to cut off some relationships of people that you've been attached to for a long time, it's the right thing to do, but it feels so wrong. And they start crying, and then you get sad, you know, oh God, did I do this? Should I have cut them off? Maybe I shouldn't have cut them off. Somebody that you've been spoon feeding, you really haven't helped them. You've been sustaining their habit. And all of a sudden, you get the boldness one day to say, you know what, it's time for me to cut this off, because if you haven't gotten help all of these years that I've been dishing out to you, I am cutting this off, and I'm going to give it to somebody that can be helped and pull themselves up, and they won't have to be on a constant supply from me. And so I am making the decision, and they'll start crying and telling you, but you done always been there for me. You know, how you going to do this? You got enough of me and you, and then you don't want to be so stingy. And they want to put you on a guilt trip, but honestly, it will actually make you feel badly for making a right decision. So there are times when you make the right decision. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world to do is to cut off from a relationship of something that you've enjoyed in the past, but you know that it is not good for you. It's been good to you, but it is not good for you, and this thing needs to be cut off. And you got to make a decision, and it feels bad. You go into depression for 2 or 3 days because you've made this decision, and now you second guess yourself. That brings me to the next point. Don't vacillate. Number 7, don't vacillate. Don't vacillate. Don't switch back and forth where, you know, y'all broke up the last week because, you know, you had the strength to do what was right, and then now they have gotten back into your graces. They've talked you back into this thing, and you have made now a decision emotionally, and you have not deliberated. When you deliberate, you come to a different level. Now, let me just say this to you, that there were times here in the powerful Word of God where the men of Israel, they sampled these provisions from these Gibeonites, and they did not inquire of the Lord. You find that Isaac was deceived by his son Jacob because he sampled the provision. He ate the venison that he knew that his son Esau, a man of the field, would make for him. And he got food because he sampled it, but he never asked the Lord about it. And remember where Jacob was smooth and Esau was hairy, and then he put the hair on himself, and when his daddy felt him, he said, "It is the voice of Jacob, but it feels like Esau," and he obeyed his feelings, and he never consulted the Lord, and he blessed the wrong child. You see, it was because he never inquired of the Lord. He never sought God about that thing. Jacob was deceived by Laban and received Leah instead of Rachel, the pretty one. He got the cross-eyed girl. And he wanted Rachel. And he never sought the Lord. He just thought that everything that, if you think you treat people right, that they'll treat you right. No. Some people are deceptive. You have to open up your bag before you pull off from a restaurant and make sure you got your stuff in there. They sometimes make mistakes and put the wrong stuff and leave stuff out. And remember, there's a unique story in 2 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 12 and 13, and that talks about King Asa, who was a man that was diseased in his feet, and the Bible says that he sought not the Lord.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Until next time, God bless you.